It's weird, but I think I was just so ready to stop finding fault in myself. And I felt like I could see all of those things that made me hate myself, pick on myself, put myself down, close myself off, stop myself from feeling like I don't want to say entitled, because entitled sounds like a kind of a snotty word, but I stopped myself from having any entitlement whatsoever to now a kind of more of a happy medium where I know I'm entitled to be happy. But I also know I'm not entitled to be haughty. It's like there's a balance in there, and I think I'm doing okay with picking that apart, and not being like too snobby and bitchy, but at the same time I don't beat myself up anymore. I definitely feel different. I'm happier, much happier. I really think it was more like a series of smaller events that kind of led me to finally break my depression. When I talk to my kids, they're probably the only people in this world that I have absolute 100,000% faith that they love me and they have unconditional love. But when I got to the point where I start questioning when they say I love you back to me, or they tell me they love me, and I start questioning that about them, which is in turn honestly questioning myself and my self-worth, and do I deserve that? Do I deserve for them to be able to say I love you to me? Yes I do. And do I deserve for myself to receive that wholeheartedly without fear and hesitation of what's the repercussions behind it? Yes, I do. I deserve that. and I think it got to the point for me, I'd say, probably a couple years ago, that I felt like I didn't deserve any positive in my life. I didn't deserve anybody to look upon me with love or speak of me with positivity or accept me as a good person, a good human, and a good entity to be around. I didn't see that about myself, and I allowed that to just close me off from everyone and everything. And it was a shift because my kids felt it. Like I stopped wanting to even just sit out in the living room and watch TV with them. I stopped wanting to just go out to dinner or go to the park or sit in the backyard or just visit. Those things just kind of like slowly just became none. And I knew that was wrong. I knew it was wrong in the back of my head, but I couldn't do anything about it. Emotionally, I wasn't ready to change that, And then Bethany moved home from the Air Force. They were in New Mexico for 6 years. And when they got home from the Air Force, and she and I started kind of sharing a little more regularly and more face to face, it made a big difference. It made a big impact for me, because she's like probably my one that I know I can say anything in front of, and she's gonna just love me anyway. And I couldn't open up to her, and that was really damaging for me emotionally. So that was a big turning point, was when she moved home, because I knew that I needed to do something to change, because I felt like I was going like further and further down this little rabbit hole where it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and less people could be close to me. And I was okay. And the scary part was I was okay. I didn't want to be okay. I wanted somebody to fight for me to get out. And it took me a while to figure out I had to fight for myself. So then she started talking to me about you. And of course, I followed the page where the magic happens. I've been following that page for a while, even before I started talking to her about probably, working with you. But it took a while. It took a long time for me to get to where I knew, that hole I was digging it myself, and I needed to get out. I just had to own it and recognize it and be willing to work on it. My thoughts after our first conversation was, there's no way this woman has anything more to offer to me than I can do for myself. That is the very first thing I thought of after we hung up with our first session. Yeah. And I thought, okay, no, because we had not yet gone into my super conscious or even tried to get me on that level at that point. This was just a conversation with you and I. I thought, nope, I can do this. I can do this on my own. I don't need somebody to tell me to do this. I don't need somebody to walk me through this. I don't need somebody to lead me on this journey. I can do this. And the first time I went, with you, and I started like allowing myself to really deeply meditate and feel that, I don't know, that mental connection with another person that just made me think, wow, this person really gives a fuck about me. It's like you just, you just kind of got me where I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I do deserve this. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I will be okay, And it took a little while, and that meeting that inner child was kind of like one of those like scary moments. I mean, I feel like I was ready for this process to really make an impact for me.
Yes.
I knew, but like I said, before I'd even started talking with you, that I needed to do something to get myself moving in the right direction. And, traditional counseling and therapy had never really worked much for me. I always look at someone when I would take the kids to counseling or therapy after my divorce, I would go and I always look at them and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you're picking me apart. In the back of my head, I'm saying that counselor is picking out every single flaw that I have every time I'm with her or him or whatever. So I just, I didn't care for that type of therapy, but this worked out. I mean, I just jumped, like I said, leap of faith, just jump off the deep end and go and land where you land, take your chances.
Absolutely.
I mean,
wonderful.
If I could tell anybody that is thinking about this, anybody at all that has any kind of struggle or baggage or stories that they carry with them, like bricks in a knapsack, like me, have faith in the process. Have absolute faith that you can do it. You can yell and scream and cry. You don't have to say it out loud, you can just let it happen in your head and let Ron be your words. I'm like, I love that, you clearly connected with me, to hit the points with my parents a lot, because I would have never been able to verbalize those things, consciously. It took me being open to you subconsciously and you speaking to my superconscious for me to be able to even like look at that person anymore, because I wouldn't even look at that person anymore. And now I stare at myself in the mirror. I'm like, you're a little badass.
Yes. I love it. I love that. And you are such a badass. And you're right. When I take this journey with people, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm in there swinging.
You're all in. But it takes that strength for someone else to be able to receive that about themselves, because, I knew what happened with my dad was wrong. I knew what had happened with my mother was wrong. I knew those things in my core. I just didn't know how to say those things in a way that allowed me to find that freedom and allow me to, put those stories in that inferno where they belong. I have to be able to put those stories there. And now, like, we took my mom to Miami this weekend, and you know what? I never once, and this is the first time, and I'm 51, the first time I've ever spent an entire day and night with her without feeling like she's going to snap back on those old behaviors. And I have to watch out I don't have to have, you know, a backup plan to get out of her line of fire ever again.
Wow.
You know, I don't feel I didn't, and that's actually something new that I'm just now putting together while I'm talking to you, is that I didn't feel that this weekend. I didn't feel like I needed to have, you know, my sister with me or my brother with me at all times to kind of be like my backup in case she starts tripping out and losing her shit on me again, and treating me like she, you know, has treated me even as an adult. I didn't get that vibe from her, and I think a lot of it is because I didn't put off that victim vibe in my conversations with her. You know, I didn't lead into the conversations feeling like, let me be careful what I say and how I say it so I don't piss you off, which is going to piss you off anyway, because that's what we do. You know, it was just a casual, calm, cool, collected weekend. And I just was like, I felt like I actually had my mom.
And to me, what I'm hearing is you felt safe
I did. I really did. And I
for the
do.
first time.
But at the same point, I didn't even get a hint of that, that aggression from our, you know, our past together. And I feel that very much because my energy towards her is more, is calmer and more accepting of you know, who she is as a person, who I am now, and that whatever happened between my child and her is no longer playing a conscious role. I don't harbor that. You know, I'm not looking at her going, you bitch.
Oh, I love it. That is amazing. Like, I mean, that in itself, I think, is life changing, right? That's
Yeah.
a life changing shift because, you know, as much as it is sort of with this one person, it is this pivotal wound that has been, you know, not just a band-aid slapped over it, it's been tended to, it's been
Yep.
loved, it's been cared for, and it's been healed back to wholeness, right?
Yeah.
And yes, we can carry scars from our wounds, but we don't need to carry the gaping wound sitting there waiting for us to fall into it and to
Mm-hmm.
suffer in that pain endlessly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big part of where I was always stuck with her, because I always felt like she owed me an apology for those things. And I don't feel like that anymore. Like I said, when I first, you know, the first couple minutes after talking to you, the first session, I was like, there's nothing that I can't do for myself here, you know? And then, I don't know, I allowed myself to calm my fears. I just had to force myself to just put those fears away and know that I was in my safe place. I could feel that like the positive intent when you would speak to me, that I knew it was good. It was meant to be on that level. The meditation is amazing. And then I still have the recording, and I still go back and listen to that initial recording every once in a while and think, wow, how much has changed since that 3 or 4 months ago. But yeah, I like the meditation process, and I love to journal. And I didn't used to like that either, because I felt like, you know, if you write about stuff, you're just dragging up old memories.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I can write about stuff and journal about things, and I don't feel like I'm, you know, rehashing that emotion, but I am factually and objectively looking at a situation. And then, you know, I can close that book and put it away and say, okay, that's my story for that situation, and it's going to stay in that book until I pick it up for the next story, you know, whatever I feel like journaling about next time. So, and I don't journal about anything special. You know, I journal about like my pain management class or appointment, or like talking to you, or the weekend that I spent with my mom, or, you know, an argument with the kids or something like that. Like, it's nothing special every time, you know, it's just whatever happens to strike my mood and be like, I don't want to forget that that's happening. I want to remember that, you know, I want to remember that situation. So I write it down.
I love it. And it's just an expression now. It's not the thing that has the power over you.
Yeah.
You know, your pages in your journal aren't soaked with tears anymore. It's just
Definitely.
the objective, curious observer.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think the meditation for me, that was huge. Like allowing you to lead me into that relaxed state where I can address things that are happening without feeling like I'm going to be ridiculed or criticized, or where I don't feel like things are, you know, somebody's going to look at me like I'm crazy for feeling that emotion, or laugh at me because I'm upset about something that they think is insignificant or trivial. It's awesome. It helped me very, very much. And then, of course, you know, over the past couple months, continuing to find myself meditating and allowing that freedom to kind of incorporate into everything that I do, you know, just all of my work, my kids, all of it. I'm just like happy and free and wide open. Thank you for allowing, you know, a safe place for me to open up. Like I can't imagine ever doing this with anybody else. I just don't know that I would have been able to find that connection with another therapist or counselor or healer or guide of any kind. You know, I don't know, but this was the perfect one because it really it made a world of difference for me. We have to be willing to let that person in, you know, and the person on the guiding end of things has to be able to speak to your heart, because I think that's probably where it's been lacking for me for a lot of other, you know, avenues that we've explored as far as like therapy for the kids and you know, after divorce counseling and that kind of stuff. It wasn't it didn't attach me to the story. It was all about let's fix the problem. It was, or let's, you know, address the current issue, which would mostly be anger or whatever the case might be with the kids. You know, it didn't actually go to the core of what was happening that caused this initial behavior to start with.
Yes.
And that's where I think you hit that connection for me, was you were willing to dig in and meet my inner child.